welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey, and a couple of years ago I fell in love with Olivie Blake. So in 2021, Miss Olivie Blake published a book that I would argue changed me as a person. The Atlas 6, which is the first book in the Atlas 6 series, I guess. I don't know exactly what it's called, to be quite honest. It followed a group of 6 individuals who join this society called the Alexandrian Society, and they each have individual powers. Anyways, it was the book for me. It combined dark academia with a magic system that was based on like academics. It was fascinating. I adored it, and I gave it 5 stars. And what do I do when I give a book 5 stars? I have to read everything that the author has ever published. It's just logical that way. So that year, and subsequently every year after, I bought everything that Olivie Blake was publishing, including this year of our Lord 2025. 3 books are coming out by Olivie Blake. I've already bought 2 of them. So one of them is January's, which is a like short stories collection. Another one is Gifted and Talented, which is staring at me from my bookshelves. And then we have Girl Dinner coming out later in the fall, all of which I am very intrigued to read. But I have only read the Atlas 6 series and Alone With You in the Ether, which I also loved, gave 5 stars. So I decided, for the purpose of this vlog, let me read the Olivie Blake that's been on my TBR before 2025 and see how I feel. Let's gander in things outside of the Atlas 6. So in order to touch upon Olivie Blake's YA, I read My Mechanical Romance. This is written under her real name, Alexine Farrell Fullmouth. I then read One for My Enemy, which is a like Romeo and Juliet retelling. And then lastly for this vlog, I read Masters of Death, which is like, I don't know how to describe this one. It's basically a humorous book involving a vampire, a boy who can talk to death, and a ghost, and the 3 of them want to sell a house. And that's where I'll leave it. So I'll send you back to Kelsey 1 week ago when we started with My Mechanical Romance, and we'll see if Olivie Blake is the author for me. Hello, so I'm sure I have a better introduction to this vlog, but I always feel like I have to start it off properly so that I can talk to you like officially. Also, please ignore, I accidentally shaved a line through my eyebrow, but for some reason I feel like it fits me and my personality. Anyways, I started last night, did not get very far, but I started My Mechanical Romance by Alexine Farrell Fullmouth, which if you're watching this, you know that that is Olivie Blake. I decided to start with her YA just because I'm a little behind at filming this video and I wanted to potentially read this all today. I know I always say this and I'm wild about it because I never do, but today I will. That's my goal. This follows 2 characters, Isabella Bell and Mateo, and I think they call him Teo. And basically, Belle is struggling to be a girl in STEM, especially one of the only women in STEM in their school. And then Teo has a fear that he'll never live up to everyone's sky-high expectations of him. So Belle and Teo don't just build kick-ass robots, they create a beautiful, organic love story that helps them both discover all the best versions of themselves. So I think this could be really cute. I know that they're going to build robots together. This just feels like something I'll enjoy. I work in STEM, I work in video games, so I think that I could really enjoy 2 characters who have the same like ideals and passions as me falling in love. So that's the first book I am reading for this vlog. Yesterday I got something in the mail and I just wanted to open it with you guys because you guys know that this could be a future vlog. I always do a vlog with a new Taylor Jenkins release. So let's open it, get it out of here. I saw everyone taking pictures like with this book with the sky and I'm like, everybody's so clever and I'm not. Indigo exclusive bonus content, whatever that means. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, #1 New York Times bestselling author of Daisy Jones and the Six, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, an epic new novel set against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program about the extraordinary lengths we go to live and love beyond our limits. Joan Goodwin has been obsessed with the stars for as long as she can remember. She is content with her life as a professor of physics and astronomy and as an aunt to her precious niece Frances until she comes across an advertisement seeking the first woman scientist to join NASA's space shuttle program. Suddenly, Joan burns to be one of the few people to go to space. Selected from a pool of thousands of applicants in the summer of 1980, Joan begins training at Houston Johnson Space Center alongside the exceptional group of fellow candidates, Top Gun pilot Hank Redmond and scientist John Griffin, easygoing even when the stakes are high, mission specialist Lydia Danes, who has worked too hard to play nice, warm-hearted Donna Fitzgerald navigating her own secrets, and Vanessa Ford, the magnetic and mysterious aeronautical engineer who can fix any engine and fly any plane. As they become unlikely friends and prepare for their first flights, Joan finds love she's never imagined. In this new light, Joan begins to question everything she knows about her place in the observable universe. Then, in December 1984, on mission STS-LR9, it all changes in an instant. This sounds absolutely fantastic. Like a female astronaut? I'm obsessed. So I forgot that this was coming out this year and I didn't put it into my plans for videos. So I'm going to have to shuffle some things around so that I can post a Taylor Jenkins reading vlog this year. Anyways, that's my update. See you later. Hello. So I did get 114 pages into my mechanical romance. I'm pretty much like halfway through it, enjoying it. It's a typical YA romance contemporary novel. What sets it apart, I think, from like a lot of YA that I've read is just these discussions about being a girl in STEM, how she is treated by the other boys, specifically Theo, and how he uses how everybody likes him and thinks he's smart just because he's a boy and a son of like an app developer to his advantage, and she's like kind of putting him in his place and he's really liking that. So I enjoyed this. I know that Olivie Blake has a lot of interest in sciences and in women in STEM. You see that in the Atlas 6, you see that in Alone with You in the Ether. There's a lot of discussions about mathematics, physics, engineering, and while I don't think Olivie Blake specifically is working or worked in those fields, I know that her husband is a physics teacher and I just think she has a general knowledge of this sort of stuff. But anyways, I think the writing is pretty typical standard to Olivie Blake. The story is cute. I do like Theo and Belle's relationship because they are sort of antagonistic with each other. Why did I pronounce this like a Greek tragedy? But because they are able to talk about their feelings towards each other, not in like a romantic way, but in a how they perceive the other. I think they're sort of helping each other grow, which I think could be a really interesting dynamic in the book. I think I'm just going to finish this and then come update you when I have my overall thoughts. So far, I'm enjoying it. It's a typical YA romance, and I like it. Hello, so as expected, I did finish my mechanical romance all in one day, so I'm very proud of myself. And now we're going to get into my final thoughts for the book. But I think overall it was pretty clear I enjoyed this book for what it was. I think I was right in my assumption that if anyone was going to make me enjoy a YA contemporary romance, it was going to be Olivie Blake. I think that's mainly because this was such a wholesome book to read. Belle was a character, I don't think I talked about this, but after my own heart. She, first of all, is a major procrastinator. It's the first thing we learn about Belle at the beginning of the book. She wants nothing to do with being organized. She wants nothing to do with planning ahead for her future. That was me, especially at this age. And she finds a passion in STEM, which, if you don't know, I work in video games, all while dealing with the fallout of her parents. Her parents' divorce. She talks a lot about how weird it is to see her parents in the same room, and at 32 years old, I still feel this way. So it's all very, very relatable to me, and I think that that made me enjoy the book a lot more because I really liked Belle. And I think you can clearly see, as mentioned, not within solely this book, how passionate Olivie Blake is about the sciences, and I love that. I love that it's a common theme throughout all her books. I love how you can tell that it was written by her because it's so forward, passionate about science, and specifically women in science. A lot of her main characters are engineers, are people that create things, and I absolutely love that because she is clearly creative artistically, and all of her main characters will create things scientifically, and I think that that's really clever and fun. I really appreciated the romance that forms between Belle and Theo because I find that they were able to like put their passions forward and really bounce off of one another in a really positive way, and I think their love for robotics really shined because of that. The third act breakup, I think in this book was completely understandable, and I enjoyed that that made their journeys to college feel really realistic. Overall, this was a really cute YA contemporary romance. I would recommend it, especially if you enjoy YA contemporary romances. So I give this 3.5 stars. Definitely surprising to me how much I enjoyed it. And next, I think I'm going to save the book I'm the most excited for last. So I'm going to start One for My Enemy. I I'm doing that because this, I believe, is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it's not necessarily a retelling that I've learned I enjoy that much. You would think I would, but I'm starting to realize that I don't actually think I like enemies to lovers. Controversial, I know, but I think it just always falls flat and doesn't do anything for me. So that's why I'm a little apprehensive to read this one. But it basically follows a conflict between two families. So the first is the Antonova sisters, their mother, the elusive supplier of premium intoxicants known only as Baba Yaga. And then on the other side of this conflict is the Fedorov brothers, who serve their father, the crime boss known as Koshke the Deathless, whose community extortion ventures dominate the shadows of the magical Manhattan that this book takes place in. After 12 years of tenuous coexistence, a change in one family's interest causes a rift in the existing stalemate. When bad blood brings both families to the precipice of disaster, it intervenes with a chance encounter, and in aftershocks of resurrected conflict, everyone must choose a side. As each of the siblings struggles to stake their claim, fraying loyalties threaten to rot each side from the inside out. So it definitely sounds interesting, but it's not pulling me in as much as the synopsis for Masters of Death, which is why I'm going to save that for last. So I'm going to dive into this right away, just because I have less time in this vlog than I expected, and I'll hopefully get a little bit of the ways in before tomorrow. Hello, I'm trying to be better at vlogging like my mundane parts of my day and telling you like what I'm doing today. So last night I put on my fake tan, washed it off this morning. I think it looks pretty good. I feel like I have tan blindness because I did not tan. Obviously, it's been like 2 years almost, because I was pregnant last summer, so I didn't go in the sun to tan, and I have not been my natural color, it feels like, in a really long time. And I think this is my natural color because it doesn't seem tan to me, even though I know I'm tanned. Like I see I'm tanned, but like up here, I'm like, you're not tanned enough. So I'm getting ready because I'm going to have lunch with one of my friends. He's working from home today. My little baby son Potato is coming with me. And I decided like I wanted to at least film that we were going, and the makeup process, my earrings, blow drying my hair, that kind of thing. So this is all I do for makeup. It's eyebrows, concealer, and mascara for like an everyday. Also, I have one white hair here. Where is it? That is the curliest of my hairs. It just keeps my curl pattern, and it just sticks out like that. Hello, so I wanted to give an update for One for My Enemy. I am on Act 3 of the book, page 125, but I'm absolutely, as expected, loving it, of course. Even though I didn't think I was going to love the Romeo and Juliet aspect of this, which I'm not 100% in on it. Okay, hold on, give me time. But I am really enjoying the dynamics within the novel. Essentially what we have here is two main characters, one named Lev and one named Sasha, and they are the youngest children of these like witch families of Manhattan. And it's sort of like organized crime, and these families, not that they hate each other in a sense, but they're definitely two sides of the same coin that are existing within the same space and trying to like make money and stuff. But what's really interesting about this story in particular is that yes, it is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but there's two sorts of Romeo and Juliets here, and that's what I'm liking, because we have the two older siblings and the two younger siblings, and that's what's really intriguing. Essentially, the story is skyrocketed, kickstarted by the fact that the Antonova sisters find out that the Fedorov brothers are stealing from them, or they think that they're stealing from them anyways, and the two older siblings have like a disagreement, an argument, and the older sister Maria puts the older brother Dmitri into a coma, and so that kickstarts a sort of more intense rivalry among the siblings. But the Fedorov head Koshke, he has three sons, the oldest one being Dmitri, and then we have Roma, his second son, and Roma is proving to be very particular and very conniving, and so I think that he has something to do with this, or is the cause of all of these issues. And what we're seeing with the Antonova sisters is that they are a lot more calculating and a lot more clever than they let on, but their main main downfall seems to be love. And that's all I'll get into for the first 2 parts of the book. The book is structured in acts, much like Romeo and Juliet, which I think is clever. I'm enjoying that sort of format, and I might use that for one of the Our Fantasy bingo squares. So thank you, Olivie Blake. Really appreciate that. It is moving quite fast, so it's like we're having multiple POVs within specific acts, and I like that. It feels like a changing of a scene. The only problem I have is that some of these acts are just text messages between Lev and Sasha, and I can do without those text messages. They're cringy. I hate them. Part of that is maybe due to the fact that Lev and Sasha have fallen very quickly in love, but very akin to Romeo and Juliet. So I'm trying not to think about that too much, because obviously it is supposed to follow that love story, and they did fall hard and fast in the original play. So I would expect it here, but I did just find it a little too fast for my liking. And they're not too worried about the fact that they are the younger siblings of these 2 rivaling organized crime families. Which I would be if I was one of them. I would be like, this is a little bit risky, but I'm gonna let them do their thing, you know? So that's it. I'm going to continue listening to this. I'm definitely 1/3 of the way through it, enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. So I'm going to get into this, listen to it. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. I'm going to my friend's book signing for her book, Slow Down, Enjoy Life. It is at Indigo Laval today, so I'm going to be driving and maybe buying some books. I don't know. We'll see how I feel about it. Hello, I am back from the event. It is much later in the day. I've done many things throughout the day, but I did go to Indigo today to celebrate my friend's book signing for Slow Down, Enjoy Life, A Compassionate Guide to Self-Care by Stephanie Zito. So if you're into self-care or you want some tips and tricks, this is a cute little book that my friend wrote and drew the art in, and I absolutely love it. So if you're looking for some self-care stuff, would highly recommend, obviously. And it was signed and personalized to me. And of course, because I was at a bookstore, I couldn't resist. I had to buy some books. Also, ignoring this mess, we had an engagement last night. Just everything's everywhere. So the first book I absolutely wanted to get because it was an aardvark choice and I missed it the month that it came out and then it was sold out, is Julie Chan is Dead by Lian Shang. And I was not interested in this because it's a thriller. I don't really read thrillers. However, I then heard it was compared to Yellow Jackets. And if you know me, you know that I have a hankering for that show. I love it. It's one of my obsessions. And so I was like, interesting. Also a Canadian author, thank you very much. But I wonder what about Yellow Jackets is in this. So I'm very intrigued. Julie Chan is a supermarket cashier with little to lose, finds herself thrust into the glamorous yet perilous world of her late twin sister, Chloe Van Heusen, a popular influencer. Separated at a young age, the identical twins were polar opposites and rarely spoke, except for one viral video that Chloe initiated, finding my long lost twin and buying her a house, #emotional. When Julie discovers Chloe's lifeless body under mysterious circumstances, she seizes the chance to live the life she's always envied. So she obviously takes over her sister's life. So Julie Chan is the one that's dead, but not really. And again, I was not interested in this at all. And then I heard that Yellow Jackets comparison and I said, sign me the fuck up. And then of course, I can't leave a bookstore with just one book. I have to buy multiple. And I saw this at the bookstore employee recommendations table, a book I've never heard of, which is so weird. I feel like I hear about every new release in the entire world. But this is She's a Lamb by Meredith Hambrock. So She's a Lamb is an edgy and incisive novel that marches towards showtime with a growing unease about the dangers of magical thinking and the depths of delusion. Jessamine St. Germain is meant to be a star, not an actor who occasionally books yoga commercials, and definitely not a part-time usher at one of Vancouver's smallest regional theaters. Canadian again, let's go. She's bound for greatness, and that's why the part of Maria in the upcoming production of The Sound of Music is hers, or it's going to be. Jess may have been relegated to the position of childminder for the little brats playing the Von Trapp children, but it's only the director's way of keeping her close for when Samantha, the lead, inevitably fails. Everything in her life has brought her to this moment. Every man who's taken and taken and taken from her, every shit job and skipped meal, every brutal rehearsal, it's all led to this. The chance to finally stand in front of an audience and hear the applause she's dreamed of her entire life. It sounds really interesting. It sounds unhinged. I've never heard of it before, so that immediately intrigued me even more. And so I'm very excited and happy that I spontaneously picked this up. So that's it for now. I do need to figure out where I am in One for My Enemy because I read quite a bit last night before leaving for the engagement party. And I do believe I am in the 4th act. So once I'm done the 4th act, I will come back to you and we can have a conversation about what I've read so far. Hello, back in this corner again. Did I clean behind me? No. But I wanted to talk about where I got in One for My Enemy, and I am at the last part of the book. So much like with Shakespeare's plays, they are always a 5-act structure. And right now I've made it to act 5. So it's not only the longest part of the book because all of this is 4 acts and this alone is just 5. That makes sense to what Shakespeare's acts are, normally act 5. They are often divided in similar structures, but act 5 tends to often be the longest because it has both the conclusion of the rising climax and then the final conclusion of the story overall, the story arc. And what happened in acts 3 and 4 is that we had a very Romeo and Juliet type of storytelling, and I almost forgot that this was a Romeo and Juliet storytelling. So when both the Romeo character and the Juliet character died, I was like, what's happening here? But then I remembered that they're both going to come back to life as per the story. So basically the general gist of what has happened right now, because Lev and Sasha were used as pawns to further their family's criminal activity and gain, they are sort of canoodling separately for the same idea. And I think they both kind of want revenge for the death of the other. And I know, it's crazy. You haven't even seen Romeo and Juliet yet with Leonardo DiCaprio, which we must rectify. I feel like because they both don't know that the other is alive and they're both kind of searching for a sense of revenge, I think that the story is going to obviously end in a tragedy if it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling. So I'm wondering what exactly is going to happen. I'm very intrigued, I must say. I do think the middle portion, act 3 and 4, were a bit of a slog to get through. I think we could have definitely gone a lot faster with it. There were certain things that I think could have either been cut out or were not the most necessary of plot lines. I'm going to hold off on that and see how I feel at the end of the novel, because if they do come into play or they add a sort of perspective that was really needed for act 5, then I can understand why it felt longer and it was stretched out. I'm going to, I think, finish this today. That's my goal. I'm going to chill, relax a little bit, play with my son while I'm listening to it, and then I'll see if I get done and I will update you. Hello, so we're gonna do this quietly because my kid is napping and I have to go grocery shopping in the next hour. I don't want him to be upset when we're at the grocery store. So good news, I did finish One for My Enemy by Olivie Blake. I decided to settle on a 3.5 stars for this one. So as mentioned in this vlog, I normally find myself not really into or even wanting to read Romeo and Juliet retellings. To have enjoyed this one far more than others I've read has felt really satisfying. I loved the way that Blake separated the novel into acts and scenes, much akin to a Shakespeare play. That always gets me. I love that when people do that in Shakespearean retellings. We should be doing it more because it just tickles my academic heart. I really enjoyed the 2 families presented in the novel. They felt really interesting, like individually as families, and very distinct within those families compared to the other. The magic system was also really fun. It was really simple, and that aspect of it really reminded me of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I would have loved to have more of that aspect, specifically in a POV perspective, because we really just got the POV aspect of the magic system at the end in an epilogue without like really trying to get into spoilers. And I think that if we would have had that POV more, it would have been a little bit more interesting, I think, or more magical in a sense. And while I did find the overall plot engaging, I was bamboozled by the ending, really liked where this book went. I do think the middle acts were a bit sluggish, as I mentioned. I do see how they paid off at the end because the real Romeo and Juliet is not who you expect. So it pays off in the end for the novel's conclusion. But when I was reading it, it was just a slog, I felt. But again, I do see why it works. So I think that's why I'm going to settle on a 3.5 stars, because I love the beginning, I love the ending. I see how the middle helped, but it just wasn't captivating me as much as I wished it would. And then I did start Masters of Death. I got 40 pages into it so far and I am really enjoying it. I love the like humorous, funny tone in this one. So we are following two characters who haven't met yet, but one is Viola, and she is both a real estate agent and a vampire. So what ends up happening is that she needs to sell this property that is being haunted, and because she is undead, she's able to see this ghost, and the ghost is not happy with her wanting to sell this house, and he's making it very difficult for her. So she needs to enlist help from a medium in order to get rid of the ghost, and she enlists the help of Fox. And Fox Demora is a medium, and though he is definitely a shameless fraud, he isn't entirely without his uses because he's actually the godson of Death. So he's able to communicate and talk to Death, which allows for him to do this like medium business. The beginning portion of the novel was narrated from Death, and I really like that. I always love a book narrated from Death because I find authors tend to make Death really funny, and I always enjoy that. I think the ethereal voice in this one is going to at least humor me a bit more, and I think I'm going to really enjoy this because I am really enjoying it so far. So that's it for this update. I will probably wake up my kid soon, feed him, and then we're gonna go grocery shopping so that I can make supper for tonight. I think I'm going to make burger bowls, so I'm very excited about that. I love a good bowl meal. That's what I really need in life. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that I got my nails done on Saturday. It feels so good to have my nails back. I obviously had to get rid of them when I gave birth, and then obviously his first few months of life, I felt very scared to have anything on my nails in case I like hurt him or whatever, but they're back, and I'm very content about it because I love making this noise. Hello, so it's time to give an update for Masters of Death. I got to page 125. I do have to say I'm continuing with the enjoyment of the ethereal voice. I still think it's quite funny. I like that each of the individual characters in this book have a distinct personality, and they're all very like bantery and feeding off of one another, and I really enjoy that aspect. I do have to say we've come to a section in the book that I am finding to be quite confusing because a lot of like demons and archangels have been introduced into the book, and I'm getting them not mixed up because they again have distinct personalities, they have distinct names, so I'm not getting them mixed up. But what is happening is that I'm not truly understanding at this current point why they are in the book, and maybe it's a misstep on my part that I'm not really understanding, and maybe I missed a sentence that explained everything and now I'm like really behind. I don't know. I think it's more that a lot of the explanation or world building is told in flashbacks, and I'm getting confused as to what's a flashback and what is a present time situation. I just feel like the more I read, the better or more understandable it will become, I'm hoping. But we got to a pretty interesting part, and we're starting to see how characters are more related in ways than we thought previously, so that's really exciting. My son and I have lunch plans, so we're going to get some dumplings. Yeah, it's gonna be so exciting. So I'm going to get him changed now, and we'll probably go early because it is at a mall, so I'll just like walk around with him and wait for my friend to get there. So let me get him ready and we're gonna be on our way. I decided that my confusion has been too much and I need to go back to chapter 7 and re-listen. I didn't want to because I really wanted to finish this book tonight. I don't think that's going to happen. It might, but I needed to go back. I'm so confused. By we, I mean me and my son just got back from Pilates. It was a BYOB, bring your own baby, and I really enjoyed it. It was at Studio Pilates Club here in Montreal in the Little Italy area, which I always love, and it was a lot of fun. I was a little bit nervous because I never did reformer Pilates before, but it was surprisingly very easy. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to sign up to another bring your own baby class, see how it is, because I am really enjoying it. And I think like once he gets older, I might just do like regular reformer Pilates for a weekly thing to do with him and get me and him out of the house. I think that it is really fun and really worth it. So we just got back home. What I'm going to do is continue reading. I'm going to try to finish Masters of Death. I am on page 220. My fridge just turned on, so if you hear that, I'm sorry. I'm enjoying it way more. I re-listened to the parts that I did not understand, and it makes sense that I didn't understand them because through audio, there's no real separation in the book between like flashbacks and the present timeline. And so visually, when I was reading along with the audiobook, I was able to see that these were different sections, but that's why it had confused me, because I wasn't understanding that they were past tense and pretense differences within the pages. Now I'm really understanding. What Masters of Death really reminds me of is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and another author that I will not name. I really, really liked that book, unfortunately, but probably the Terry Pratchett aspect of it. I really like this like joking nature between like demons and angels and this and that, and like how they're all making jokes and getting along and trying to like ruin each other's days. I really, really like that aspect. That's the aspect of this book that I am enjoying the most. And I said this from the beginning, the authorial voice is so clear and so funny, and I'm really enjoying that. The plot itself is really engaging. We're getting more to the plot now, which is involving like a evil king, the ghost that is inhabiting the condo or the home or whatever it is more involved in this like demonic plot line than we originally thought. Fox's godfather, Death, is missing, and it has something to do with this game that they all play. I'm going to let you go here. I'm going to read maybe another 100 pages before I update again, but I'm really hoping I finish this book within the next 2 days so that I can edit it and get this video out. Hello, welcome to the end of the vlog, and let's talk about my final thoughts on Masters of Death, which I hope I made clear I really enjoyed. As mentioned several times, I think in all the clips of Masters of Death, Blake's authorial voice just really shines, and it is what makes this book, I think, because it is humorous and it's really diving into like a Terry Pratchett type of writing style, which I really like. I like when an author jokes with its readers. I like when the voice of the novel is implying that I'm in on a secret with them. I really enjoy that. But at the same time, it's still holding on to this like lavish and eloquent prose that Olivie Blake has. And if you've read an Olivie Blake, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I really enjoyed all of the characters in the novel. While not all of them get an equal time on page, I really feel like they all served a purpose in the book and highlighted a different aspect of humanity and our struggles, which as immortals, they don't believe that they do, or they don't believe that they have this. And that's like part of the joke that we're like in on, is that the immortals talk constantly about they don't have feelings and how they can't do anything and blah blah blah, and they're all really highlighting this issue that I think every aspect of a being or creature that interacts with others has. I did find the novel's plot to be slightly confusing, and you did see that in, I don't know if it was the clip before this or the last one, but this idea that they are playing a game or they're in on a game, and the game ends up being extremely meta because there's only one rule to the game, and we're told this many times, and it's not to lose. And we realize that in order to not lose, it's whichever immortal is the most like in tune with their immortality, and by that it's that they don't experience feelings, or they supposedly don't experience feelings. What feeling they are inhabiting or experiencing, they must push to the side in order to win this game, right? So they essentially have to be the most like unfeeling of the creatures. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Like at the core of the game, we are exploring what humanity is. It took a bit of time for me to really understand the game, and that the points or what they're fighting over in the game is like feelings and actions and not necessarily like concrete items. They're not winning anything. If you can let the novel just be, like if you're a fan actually of Gideon and the Ninth, that trilogy, if you can let a novel just be and take you in on an experience, you will likely enjoy this a lot earlier, and I think consequently a lot more than I did. However, obviously, I still really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I just needed to reread a couple of chapters sometimes. So this one is definitely the success of the vlog, but I did enjoy everything I've read, and this just solidified to me that I love Olivie Blake and I love her writing style. So let's just summarize quickly what we thought about the books. Firstly, we had My Mechanical Romance, a very cute YA contemporary romance. There is another book that she wrote with a similar cover to this, and it's about like a Renaissance fair, I think. I might pick that up just because I have solidified within this vlog that I love everything she's ever written. So I do want to read even these YA contemporary romances. But all that to say, this was a 3.5 stars for me. Then of course we had One for My Enemy, the Romeo and Juliet retelling with a twist following 2 families who control like the magic of Manhattan, and I also gave this a 3.5 stars. And then of course what you just saw, Masters of Death, which I gave 4 stars. Really enjoyed this one, but I did enjoy again all of them. So I can comfortably attest to the fact that I made a good decision buying everything Olivie Blake ever wrote, and I will be continuing with reading from Olivie Blake with her 3 2025 releases, as mentioned at the beginning of the vlog. But if you've read any of these or anything Olivie Blake's written and you would like to tell me your thoughts, please let me know down below what you thought about them. Did you like them? Did you hate them? Let me know. And if you would like to follow me on any of my other social medias, I do leave a link down below to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram if you would like to follow me there. Of course, they are owned by oligarchs, and in this current political climate, I don't know if they will be there forever or how I feel about them. But if they're there, you can follow me. And because it is the end of the video, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. It does wonders for my channel. It makes me feel really good. And that's it. I never know how to end these things, so I will see you next time. Okay, bye!